Hello, Gaston County, and welcome to episode number 5 of Gaston's Great, a podcast highlighting some of the great things happening in and around Gaston County. I'm your host, Stephen Long, and once again, we are coming to you from the worldwide headquarters of GSM Services and looking forward to having some great discussions in the coming weeks and months. We simply believe in discussing more of the reasons why Gaston's great. We are highlighting another great organization this week and have Dallas Butler with us, who is the Executive Director of the BackPack Weekend Food Program. Dallas, it's great to have you on, and welcome to the podcast.
I am excited to be here. Thank you.
So we're going to get right to it. So if you don't mind, can you just start with just sharing a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am originally from Canada. I don't know if that might be a question later on that people didn't know about me.
I did not know that, actually. I should know that, but I did not know that.
I'm a proud mom of a 5-year-old. His name is Beckham Wales Butler, and I live in Denver, North Carolina. We moved to Denver to be a little closer to family. My mom and dad and a lot of my mom's side of the family live in Vail, North Carolina. Not Colorado. I
know exactly where that is.
Yep.
But Vail and Denver, that's interesting.
Vail and Denver, and Dallas and Denver and Vail. So yes, I live in Denver. Both my parents went to Lenoir-Rhyne University. So my mom is from Vail, originally born and bred, and my dad came down on a football scholarship. So he kind of did the whole blew, finger in the air, saw Lenoir-Rhyne University, this little town, Hickory, North Carolina. It looks great. I'm going to pick this place. And lo and behold, meets my mom, and they married and moved to Ottawa, Canada, where she spent the majority of her young years, I'll say, and they had me. And so we moved to North Carolina to be back to her family, to be closer to family, because she'd been away for many years. So I was 9 or 10 when we moved here, and I grew up in Vail, went to Fred T. Ford High School.
I know exactly where that is,
yep.
Believe it or not.
Go Tigers. And I stayed close to town, or close to home, I should say. Went to UNC Charlotte for university, and I graduated with a BA in Public Relations and Communications.
Very good. That ties in well with what you, with what you do now, right?
Yeah, it does. Do a lot of public relations and communicating
so
with our community.
So how did you end up with the BackPack program?
So that's a great question. All questions are great, but I actually volunteered a little bit for the BackPack early on when I worked at Caramount Health. So after college, I did a little bout in Morganton. I worked for the school system. I'm taking you on a little journey through my life again. Worked for the school system in a public relations position, as well as working with high school students. And I was there for about 2 years, and I realized, as I said, I was doing PR on the side, and it was a grant program. I'm working with high school students that were at risk. And for a hot second, I thought, well, maybe I should have gone into teaching. And then I remembered my parents, or my mom was a teacher. A lot of my family are teachers, and they reminded me that really think about what you're considering. And so I stuck with communications, and I had learned about a position at Caramount Health that was available in their public relations department. And so I also had interned there in college, and they were looking for me. I was looking for them, and it was kind of a match made in heaven. I moved to Gaston County in, I want to say, around 2004 or 5. I lived in, get this, I lived in Dallas, North Carolina, bought my first home there. So Dallas and Dallas, now Dallas and Denver. Worked at Caramount.
And don't forget Vail.
And Vail, can't forget Vail, can't forget the roots. So lived in Dallas for a number of years when I worked at Caramount in the public relations department. Was there for nearly 14 years as their PR manager, the tail end of my career. Got to meet a lot of great people through Caramount, and I really believe that those connections have helped me in this current role as well. But I had an itch to do something different, and I've always, helping others is kind of ingrained in my blood, and I was volunteering for the BackPack program. But at the same time, I decided to take some time off from Caramont. So in 2017, I made the decision to stay home, believe it or not, with my son, who was 2 years at the time, and kind of did some reevaluating of my life, reassessing, that thing, and really...
Children will do that.
Children will force you to do that. What have I done with my life? No, I wanted to be available to him. So we kind of did a part-time. I was home for a while. He was in preschool part-time. But I quickly realized that I'm kind of a better mom working. And so I started to do some job searching. I was looking in the Charlotte area. I had my eyes set on a few positions. And this BackPack program kept showing up. A couple of people called me and said, "Are you sure you don't want to think about coming back to Gaston County?" And, this position came open. Carolyn Niemeyer, the founder, I always thought she'd be there forever. And she announced her retirement, which I thought, yeah, well, that's probably never going to happen. But she did. And so long story short, I interviewed for the position, and I joined as the executive director in June of 2018. So that's how I came to the BackPack program.
Excellent. Yeah, and full disclosure, I've known Dallas for a few years through, I think we met originally through Rotary, correct? Mm-hmm. And GSM has been a supporter of the BackPack program. It's a great organization. And I'll kind of talk a little more detail about the history of that. You mentioned Miss Niemeyer. Mm-hmm. That is a family that I have known. I graduated with high school with one of their daughters. And so if you don't mind kind of sharing the history and how did that program get started?
Sure.
Interesting story.
Yeah, it is a very interesting story. So this school year, we are recognizing our 10 years of being in operation. So it's a pretty big milestone for the BackPack Weekend Food Program. It was established in 2011. Miss Carolyn Niemeyer is the wife of retired orthopedic surgeon. We all know Charlie Niemeyer. And she is, if you've ever met Carolyn, you don't forget Carolyn. She is passionate about life and certainly about helping kids. And I will never forget the day I was at Caramont at the time, and we kind of had developed a relationship through the medical society that she was the Alliance, Medical Society Alliance at the time. And she came to me with this idea. She said, "I have an idea. I saw a television program on TV last night, and it was a similar community like Gaston County, and they were talking about kids going hungry on the weekend, or being hungry on the weekend, leaving school and going home to cabinets and pantries that were empty." And she said, "Dallas, I got to do something about this. I can't let this go." And she said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just talking to you about it right now." So a little bit of time passed, and she is someone who is just very, very focused and, as I said, passionate, and she began to put the right players together. And so Caramont was one of the first partners that came on board. I should say not the first. She is a member of Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. And so they were big, very critical in the beginning stages of the program. So the program essentially started in the Niemeyer's home. Her daughter, Erica's bedroom, was kind of the office for the BackPack program. And they used Holy Trinity Lutheran Church's basement to kind of carry out the operation. So the food was stored there. But so the critical partners in the beginning were Holy Trinity Lutheran Church. Caramont came on board. And we continue to work with Caramont because we were able or are able to purchase our food through their premier purchasing contract and with U.S. Foods. So that was a big part of getting the program started as well. So it began somewhat small, and we worked, she started developing relationships with churches in the community. And, if you think of a lot of BackPack programs, they started with churches. And
Sure.
So that was kind of a logical place to begin, and started forging those relationships and began to feed some of the schools, but it all started with elementary in the beginning. And over the course of time, they added schools, added partners, added students, And of course, the schools, the Gaston County schools, have always been a huge supporter of the program. They're huge allies. While we're not part of the school system, we collaborate very closely. And she had approached, Carolyn approached the superintendent at the time, which would have been Reeves McGlowan. And again, she said, I've got this idea, and I can't shake it. We got to make this happen. And sure enough, with a couple of other conversations, I'm kind of going back and forth, but they started the program.
I think there's so many, with my involvement in the community, so many times I see something like this, and there's almost always, I'm sure there's exceptions, but almost always there's somebody like Mrs. Niemeyer who gets an idea, gets behind it, and just won't let it go. And that's how so many either organizations or programs or initiatives are started. And if I remember correctly off of the website, it's now well over 1,000 kids that you're typically serving every weekend, give or take. Is that?
Yeah, we, on average, we serve between 800 to, we've reached 1,000 in some years. So the number's pretty fluid, but we generally are feeding between 800 to 900 kids each school year.
And it's definitely a unique and a need that, may not have been obvious, but it's obvious now, right?
Yeah. So when this was heavy on her heart, we don't think about people being hungry in Gaston County or in our backyards. We all feel like we have access to grocery stores or to convenience stores, whatever the case may be. But the truth is, we do have hunger in our community, and sadly, it affects our children, our students. And so, again, she couldn't let that go. And but hunger is certainly a real concern. And that is our mission of the BackPack program, is to be able to provide students healthier options through meals on the weekend, so that they can come to school the following week, the following Monday, ready to learn.
Yeah, obviously nutrition is something that's important. It's hard to,
if you're hungry,
in an education,
you can't learn.
That's right. It's hard to be in a learning environment when your basic needs aren't taken care of.
Yeah, I think about when I'm hungry. You feel that hunger pang, and I get a little hangry. But yeah, and
you sure don't want to be sitting in a classroom or in a learning environment in that circumstance. This is a question that I typically ask, but there may not be anything beyond just what we've already talked about. But is there any other initiative, anything related to that, or is it pretty much strictly? This is obviously a giant task, so I don't want to make it sound like you're not doing anything. But are any other initiatives or anything else that the BackPack program is involved with, or is it strictly just every weekend where you're getting these food in the hands of these kids that need it?
So I'll answer it this way: our main mission is to feed kids on the weekends. However, we are continually evolving as an organization to continue to meet that need. So whatever that need is, whether it's 500 kids, whether it's 1,000 kids, our focus or our goal is to ensure that we are able to do that. And we are able to do that and have been now for a decade because of the support we receive from the community, from GSM, from our volunteers, our churches, the schools, small business, individual donations, individuals in the community who are ambassadors for the program, who are, teachers in the school system. They're all over. And so that our initiative is to continue to keep that mission alive and be able to continue to meet that need.
Typically, how many volunteers does it take, on a weekly average to get that taken care of?
That is a number will never be able to tell you, but I will give you an estimate. I did some math a couple of years ago, and it's well over 600 volunteers. But you have to think about it in terms of all of the partners. So we have 46 partners that are in the form of churches mainly, and some businesses and individual homes, and all of those organizations or entities have volunteers. And some of the churches that have larger schools and more students will rotate their volunteers. So when you start to think of it in those terms, it begins to multiply. Sure. So we're talking weekly, well over 600, but we have a core group of volunteers who come to our warehouse to help us pull orders and get the food ready once a month. And that's about 30 to 35 volunteers that we rely on.
I think that's what we have done a couple times.
Yep.
Is help with that on
GSM
a
has
monthly
come in
basis.
and I started what's called the Hunger Takeover. It's kind of a play on with words, but Hunger Takeover, come in, get to see behind the scenes what we do as the BackPack program. And I don't know about you, but I love to get my hands and feet dirty. Hands and feet? Maybe it's just hands. But, never know. You might step on something and get dirty feet.
We'll go with that.
And I always say there's nothing better, though, at the end of a pull day at the warehouse when you know that you've seen the orders, you've seen the food go through on the conveyor belt, and you see them on the pallets at the end of the day, and it's a feeling of accomplishment.
Well, it's a tangible thing you can see that's getting ready to happen.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. Very tangible. And you know that the food has been touched by a number of hands, and it's eventually going to reach those students' hands.
Do you happen to have any specific story you can share about an individual child or a family that you have been able to, that you can share, some that was really impacted specifically?
I have a few stories, but I'll tell you, one of the things that makes this program unique is we don't get all the circumstances and the information from our students. We rely on the schools to identify the students, identify the need, and what we get is our numbers. And we know the school name, we know obviously our contact at the school, but then we just get numbers weekly. So we're updating numbers every week based on the need and what we're being told. However, we do at the end of the year have surveys. We want to know that what we're doing is working, and through those surveys we've been able to capture some stories and some feedback from some of the schools and the personnel that are on the front lines. And so I have some quotes that I can share with you, but I also helped I want to distinguish the two here. We do provide meals to kids during the school year.
Okay.
And people will often say, well, what happens during the summer? There are a number of agencies and partners, and some of our church partners provide meals to kids through summer programs. The schools obviously have, they called them grab-and-go sites during COVID, but they have satellite locations for food. But I did help just a few times deliver some food to homes, and I was able to meet some of the families that we were feeding through the BackPack program. So it was a little bit, I don't want to say a selfish thing on my part, but I certainly wanted to help feed the kids and deliver the food, but I also wanted to know who my audience was and get to know some of these families, and I was able to do that this past summer. And as a result, we were able to use these two families in some videos that we did for an event that we held in February. But I won't use names, but I'll tell you a little bit about one family. They have 4 children. 3 of them are autistic. And the eldest is, I think she's still in high school, I want to say. But anyway, they are... both parents are working parents, and they make too much to be able to I say too much. They both are working parents, and I want to make that very clear. So but they still need that assistance on the weekend to help with their kids. And so they were one family that I got to meet and got to know, and just very grateful for what the program has offered them and has been able to do. And so, they're one example. The other is a sweet, sweet family. They have 4 kids, and they were in a homeless sort of situation. And got to know them, and they, again, both parents were in the picture, but just needed that extra boost to help them get through the weekend. And we offer food that is easy for kids to open. It's kid-friendly. And some of them may use it as meals, some of them use it as snacks through the weekend. Right. So those were two examples, but I can read some of the quotes that I've gotten from.
That'd be great. Share a couple if you can. Sure.
All right.
Looks like you got about 20 or 30 pages there of notes.
All right. So this is one that I thought was really powerful. These are from, either school coordinators. Some of them may be principals. Some of them are the teachers who are working with these students daily. Food insecurity has many negative effects on children, including poor health and adverse effects on academic performance. Students feel safe and prepared to learn when they are not struggling with hunger. They do not worry as much about where the next meal will come from. The Backpack Weekend Food Program promotes students being at school, focusing on academics and socialization, not hunger. This program is extremely beneficial to students. Another one, our students are far too often the victims of a survivalist culture. The Backpack program takes food insecurity out of this equation.
Those are good. I mean,
That's it.
School's hard enough. Right?
Yeah.
You don't need to worry about
And the challenges a lot of these students,
Yeah.
well, we all face. We all have challenges, but that really spoke to me. I have several examples of families struggling with homelessness who have needed the additional nutritional support through the Backpack Weekend Food Program. Offering an additional resource offers hope during a very difficult time. And the last one of the students in our program this year has been experiencing homelessness, which has resulted in several moves. Family has had to stay in home of other families in motels. The food bag provided her a stable support to help with food insecurity.
Those are good. Those are powerful.
Yeah.
Powerful information. You know, and it's good to get the feedback. And to your point about being able to go to meet some families, you know, it's okay to feel good about the work you're doing. You know, and I've done a lot of volunteer stuff, and I hope it's not selfish sometimes, but sometimes I do want to get that feedback and see the impact that you're making, and just to, if for no other reason, just to, you know, see to meet some of the people that you're impacting, and to know that you're doing what you're doing is actually beneficial. And this next question is probably, I think we've already answered it. And the next question I typically ask is, why is Gaston County better? Because of this organization. Well, I think we've answered that one pretty well. What do you, if you could look ahead 5 or 10 years, what do you envision the Backpack program looking like? You know, maybe the perfect world, it would be gone, right?
Well,
We
I was
wouldn't
just
need
going
it.
to say, and Carolyn, Ms. Niemeyer would say the same thing. You know, on a perfect day, in a perfect world, we wouldn't need the Backpack Weekend Food Program. All kids would go home to homes and pantries filled with food, and would be able to come to school ready to learn. However, just with recent circumstances, the pandemic that hit us, I don't see that going away anytime soon. Right. And certainly we've been here for 10 years, which she thought was going to be a couple of years, a Band-Aid. I
think I read on the website that it was originally going to be a temporary
fix
program, right?
Temporary program. Yep. And here we are 10 years later. So I would probably answer it in a similar way that to one of your questions. You know, we're going to be here as long as there's a need. And, you know, if it's one child that we are trying to reach and feed, we will be here for that one kid. But, you know, if it's 800, absolutely. So we will continue to evolve to meet the need and, again, to keep the integrity of our mission alive.
If I want to shift gears just a little bit, if you weren't involved with something like this, I think you mentioned it earlier, but to be involved with anything like this, you really have to have a heart for helping others. You have to have a heart for your community. But if you were involved with the Backpack program, what is something you think you might be doing?
I was going to say something funny, but no, there's no doubt in my mind I would be doing something in nonprofit work. Okay. Absolutely, 100%. I did touch on it earlier. I am inspired to help others. And that's what drives me. When I'm, you know, we've done all the personality tests, or I'm sure we all have done that, and no doubt in my mind that is what that inspires me to get up in the morning. I cannot think of a day that I haven't looked forward to coming to work with the Backpack program. There has not been one day. Sure, I'm tired. I have a 5-year-old, but I know that I'm going there to make a difference.
You're perpetually tired if you have a 5-year-old.
I'll never make up for that sleep. But seeing other people successful gives me great joy. And I hope that doesn't sound cliche or insincere. It truly inspires me.
Actually, it's okay if it sounds that way, because that's the truth, right? I mean,
that is the truth, and we're on this podcast. But no, it would be helping others in some way, and it would be helping them to reach their goal, whatever that goal is, and for them to be successful. Yeah,
that's a common theme that I've experienced in my 20 or 30 years really being involved in the community, is once somebody gets into the nonprofit world and sees what they're really capable of accomplishing, it's hard to get out, and it's hard to
grabs hold of you.
shift back.
Yeah.
So before we kind of shift gears even further, is there anything else that I haven't asked, or something you'd like to share? Because oftentimes I might even follow this question list, I get lost. Anything else you want to share? And there may not be. I mean, you've covered you really covered it well.
I always like to make sure that I am recognizing all of the people that make this program possible. You know, we have a small team, but it takes the community and I always say that this program is the community's program. Certainly Carolyn had the vision, she had the passion, she had the drive, and she helped to execute that with the support of our community, the support of people believing in what we do, believing in our mission. And without those people in place through the years, we wouldn't be able to do what we do, and we wouldn't be able to serve these students. So I just like to summarize, or to kind of not close, we're not closing, but you might need a door sound, closing the door. Okay, that's not funny. Cut that out. But
we're not
recognizing the community for what they've offered us. Yeah.
That's terrific. So if you were looking back, or you met someone who came to you and said, yeah, I'm interested in getting involved with an organization like this, or looking toward a career in the nonprofit world, what advice would you give them, or what would you say to them?
So I would say, search your heart. Find that one cause, or what is it that makes you tick. There are so many different nonprofits in the country, and certainly in Charlotte and the Charlotte market, but in Gaston County alone, we have a number of different groups that are all working to help others, and they all have a great mission. And so I would say, find that one that really connects with your soul, and don't waste any time. Do it. Get out there, volunteer, find ways to do that. But specifically with the BackPack program, we are looking for volunteers to come to the warehouse, help us pull food. I can't tell you how that really brings people together. People enjoy that, and you can see on our website there's a video that kind of gives you an idea of what that looks like. But it's an all-day affair. You're pulling food, and I always say you might get some bean juice or pasta, some cans that break open, but it's a full day of working together, and everyone's coming together for the right reason and for the reason to help students, and it's pretty amazing. So those I don't know if that answers your question.
Those are tired for a good reason, right?
Yeah, sore feet, sore hands, but all for the right reasons, absolutely. So I would say, do your research, get out there, make those contacts, and life's too short. And
don't get discouraged, because it's often not a straight path. I think,
no,
I know dealing with my children as they're getting older, there seems to be got to be a straight path right away. This is the way it's going to happen. But gosh, the path is not. It doesn't work out that way.
No, that's true. You have to kind of let life lead you a little bit. Although don't let it lead you all the time, but have some control in that.
All right. So we're going to we will come back to talk a little bit more before we finish about the BackPack program. But this is a podcast about Gaston County, and we're going to have to talk about this is what we call our speed round of questions concerning. Actually, the really important stuff about Gaston County. So, first question, Dallas's favorite Tony's ice cream flavor.
Okay, I'm going to admit something. I don't love ice cream, but your face.
That would be the crickets. Time for the crickets.
The look on your face. But I would have to say the banana pudding ice cream.
There is such a thing as banana pudding.
I made it up.
I know they have banana. I just don't know they have banana pudding. So,
is that a terrible answer?
That is not a terrible answer. We'll give somebody from Canada the benefit of the doubt. All right.
We're always so cold, so why would we want ice cream?
Right. Yeah. Sundrop or Cheerwine?
Oh my gosh, that's an easy answer. Sundrop all day long.
All right. Do you prefer Eastern or Western style North Carolina barbecue?
Eastern.
We get too many of those. Favorite place to visit or thing to do around Gaston County?
I love a lot of things about Gaston County. That's why I'm here. But I would have to say, just recently, this past Saturday, it's been a while, but I took the day to spend some time in Belmont. Oh, so nice. I love to eat and try new things. And I was with a friend, and so we had lunch. We shopped the Strip in Belmont, and we ended with the Twisted Sugar big old cookie.
Oh yeah.
So that was a perfect day for me.
Belmont's great. Belmont's done a terrific job with their downtown and just in general the area down there. I would completely agree. All right, the most important question of all, and I had to modify it just for today, which I think I've done every time we've done this question. UNC, Duke, NC State, or UNCC? And let me ask a question. I need a clarification. Is it still UNCC, or is it actually changed to Charlotte?
University of North Carolina at Charlotte.
Okay.
UNC Charlotte.
UNCC. Good.
I mean, I kind of have to say UNCC.
Well, that's what I figured, But I have to.
Go 49ers.
I throw that question in because normally around here it's always UNC or Duke, and of course being the
I appreciate
the
that.
NC State guy, I gotta
Yeah.
throw some shade toward Chapel Hill and Durham when I can. So, what is something very few people know about you? Was that your Canada answer?
No. I came
okay.
up with another one. I thought about that one. But I would say that a lot of people didn't know that I was born with straight hair.
That eventually we'll have this on. We're recording these, and that will mean something to everybody. But when it's in the
that's true.
when it's in the pocket.
See.
But anyone who knows Dallas would think that was a good one.
So a lot of people,
yes.
And it's not always something I shouldn't say this. I am very happy that I have hair and a full head of it, but I'm known for a lot of curls, but I was born with straight hair, and it wasn't until, and this is a great story, so you're going to have to get this one.
Okay.
When I moved to Vail, North Carolina, I was 9 or 10, so think about what happens to ladies, and so it wasn't soon, it was soon after that, might have to do some editing. I always wanted to have curls, and mind you, I had some, like a little bit under the hair, and Steven's looking at me like, really, where's this story going?
No, it's all good.
But my grandmother, so when I moved, I actually lived with her for 2 months the summer because my parents were still getting everything fixed and settled in Ottawa before they made the official move down. So I was loving the summer in the Carolinas, but right before school, I said, I want to have a perm. And she said, well, by God, we'll give you a perm. She used to have a salon in her basement years ago. And so they did. And that's what, you did back then. You just do it at home. And so I sat in her kitchen. And so she gave me a perm. And it was great. Next day, I started my first day of school with luscious long curls. But it was the perm that never went away.
Oh, wow.
And it was a year later, this perm stayed, and it continued to stay. And she said, well, that was the best darn perm I've ever given anyway. Well, come to find out, it was just my natural hair coming out.
Right.
So that's the story.
So not really a coincidence, or I guess it was a coincidence.
Sort of, yeah,
so,
maybe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we can mark this one down that we will not hear that again on this podcast. That's really, really interesting. So, another quick question. As a Canadian, are you a hockey fan?
The correct answer would be yes. But no, I don't follow any hockey, but
okay.
I have family that played and still play. So, yeah, sure. I mean, I enjoy watching it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm a Hurricanes fan, so I was just curious. They're having a really good season, by the way. I don't know if you even knew that. I didn't
even know that. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know. I'll check it out.
All right, then. How about this is a question I love to ask, is any recent book that you've read that you would recommend? Or?
So I'm going to go back to the fact that I am a full-time working mom with a 5-year-old. And
any Dr. Seuss books? Or?
I was just getting ready to say, I think the last time we read, well, not last time, nightly routine was Green Eggs and Ham.
Okay. Hey,
yeah.
Listen, I've been there.
I dream of the days when I can sit down with a book and finish it within 2 days.
The very first book I think we ever read to our son when he was born was All the Places You'll Go. Yes. Maybe is that Dr. Seuss? Okay. Yeah. And then we started on War and Peace after that.
Absolutely. It's a good transition.
I'm kidding. Nobody in the room except Elizabeth knows what that is. Okay. It's like a gazillion pages long and very complicated. And I really didn't read it, just full disclosure. I've read a lot of books, but not that one.
Well, you need to add that to your list.
Yeah, it's probably too late for that. So we're going to shift back to the BackPack program in Gaston County in general. So can you share, besides the BackPack program, that's obviously a reason why Gaston's great, what other reasons can you share that you believe that why Gaston County is such a great place?
So I'm going to say this. I believe it's the people. I believe the people make this community what it is. And I know GSM recently experienced a tremendous tragedy, and I can't imagine what that would have been like. And my heart goes out to the families and certainly to your staff and your employees. But one thing that I saw immediately was the response and the support and the love and the emails and the articles and the just the support you could feel in the air. And I would drive by your digital sign and would see that. And so it was just, I think that's what makes this community so special. We have people who are unique, who are really passionate about others and the place in which they live. And so I think that's what makes our community so great.
Well, I appreciate that greatly, and I agree with you completely. And to touch on your specific point, I think, we really couldn't imagine ever dealing with something like that, but we absolutely immediately felt the support and the have been uplifted, and maybe even felt some hope from just how the community, has responded. And so I appreciate you saying that, because you're exactly right. Our community is terrific because of the people that are here and the way we look out for each other. And hopefully maybe you don't ever have to be on the other side of the support. Maybe you can always be the person doing the support, but the reality is that's not always going to be the case. So Gaston County is really terrific because of that. So if you could look back to your 20-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself, or what advice would you say, what would you tell yourself?
I would tell myself to be my biggest cheerleader. I think it's so, I at least for me, I find it very easy to encourage others. That's what I do. But it's not as easy to encourage yourself. And you kind of hit on it when, during times of challenges, but not even that. Even when you're at the pinnacle of life, we have to, as individuals, be our biggest supporters too. And speaking those words aloud often and daily, all the time, putting it out into the universe, as people say, I think is so important. And we live into those words. And so I would say just love yourself, really, truly love yourself, and be okay with making mistakes and be easier on yourself. We're all going to make mistakes. But you know what? That's temporary, and we can learn from those. And life experiences obviously bring us where we are today. So it's that journey of life. What else did I say? I'm going to have to look at my notes because I had something on there that was good.
You can find it in all those 20 pages you've got there.
You gave me the questions.
But to your point, while you're looking for that.
Yeah, tell me.
My 20-year-old self had no perspective on that, right? And everything, every screw up seemed to be a disaster.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it wasn't. And I've made so many mistakes since then that you gain some perspective on that learn from it and get on with it.
Yeah. I would also say, I never thought I would say this, but life is too short to dwell on things, but also to take chances, to try something different, something new. And I think kind of my new motto in life is, why not? What do you have to lose? And if it's certainly something that's healthy and not going to hurt you, physically or mentally or spiritually, why not? Give it a shot.
I think that's a good segue to talk about Gaston County and positive things happening in Gaston County. Why not us?
Absolutely.
Right? If you look at things like the Fuse District and all the good things that are really happening, I think there was a time period where maybe Gaston County thought it couldn't happen to us. Right? There couldn't be. We can't have nice things. There's no reason why we can't have nice things around here.
And I've gone to the Fuse. Have you been there?
Yes, sure have.
Pretty amazing.
It is. It's terrific.
It doesn't even it feels like you're in a different little world of.
I'm really looking forward to the baseball season getting started first, and then all the development that's going on around it. It's really an exciting time downtown, especially. So, Dallas, this has been really good. If somebody wanted to volunteer or learn more about the organization, how can they find that out? Where they need to go or call, or how would they do that?
So I would say first, follow us on Facebook. We are on Facebook, the BackPack Weekend Food Program. We're also on Instagram. We have a website, I'm going to get it all wrong, but at the www.bwfpgc.com. Did you get that?
I did, but then when I looked preparing for this, I just Googled BackPack Weekend Food Program.
Or you can do that. You can use Google. It's great. It's amazing what comes up.
I couldn't remember exactly Of course, it's pretty simple if you just look at the name, right? But no, that was too complicated for me, obviously.
Don't make life too complicated more than it is. So check us out online. But I would say reach out to us. There's an email. You can email me or go to our website, and you can inquire about volunteer opportunities. As I said, we're always looking for new volunteers to come to the warehouse, help pull food. And we have a number of veteran volunteers, but we would love for new blood, new people to come in and help us do it too. So yeah.
All right. Well, Dallas, I appreciate your time.
Thank you
immensely, and got a couple things to finish up. We're going to start something new this week, and you segued into it perfectly when you talked about taking risks. And I didn't even that was just perfect. And I'm going to tell you why here. I do a little quote of the week or thought of the week every week, and this particular one comes from T.S. Eliot, and I'm saying it's on courage. Some people might argue it's on something different, but the quote goes like this: "Only those who will risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go." So I list that as courage. I think most people think courage, they think of, some great task or some great event that happened, typically, and maybe not in the context of the day-to-day things that we deal with. But, I think courage is oftentimes, to your point, maybe doing what Miss Niemeyer has done, right? And then having children in today's world, or oftentimes we get close to accomplishing something, and we think, oh, we're not going to get there, or we're often so close when we quit or don't keep going, and that courage just to go a little further, because oftentimes we're much closer to accomplishing that than we actually think. So so keep that in mind, and we'll continue that unless our 7 listeners email us and say we shouldn't do that any longer. I actually have had a couple people ask about books, and that's one of the questions that I ask, and I've had a couple people ask me about books that we might be reading here at GSM, or what I might be reading. I will share that our leadership group here is reading a book called The Energy Bus by John Gordon. John Gordon is an author that I follow, and I've read all of his books. But again, The Energy Bus by John Gordon is a great leadership and kind of attitude and outlook book that we would strongly recommend. So we're going to finish up here. So thanks so much for taking the time to listen to today's episode. Please spread the word if you can about this, and please don't hesitate to contact us here at podcast@gastonsgreat.com. That's podcast@gastonsgreat.com. We're always looking for suggestions for future podcast topics and guests. You can find the podcast and subscribe at our website, gastonsgreat.com, and please follow us on our social media platforms. You can also find us and subscribe on most podcast services such as iTunes, Spotify, and Google. Thanks again to Dallas Butler from the BackPack Weekend Food Program for joining us today. I'm your host, Stephen Long. Thanks again for hanging out with us, and please keep coming back to hear more reasons why Gaston's great.